Hello once again, Warren here with the Peach State Prime Transformers channel, and today we're taking a look at, I guess they're considered toys or more collectibles in the realm of Transformers, and that is, we're going to take a look at the latest wave of Funko Pop figures. Of course, Transformers have been around in the Funko space for a few years now, probably more than a few years, starting with some of the live-action movies, and then finally hitting it off with G1, and then you got some of the NFT exclusives. So there's a wide variety of these, and I don't even think there's necessarily waves that are numbered officially with these, so we're just calling this the latest wave. And this wave technically consists of 2 Autobots and 2 Decepticons. Maybe another figure. We'll take a look here in just a minute. But, you know, whether or not you're into Funko collectibles, I do invite you to watch this video just to see, you know, some of the work that Funko is doing in this space. I know Funko Pops aren't for everybody, but these are, you know, kind of nifty little collectibles. And, well, not the cheapest thing out there on the market. They're far from being one of the most expensive, especially in today's market. So, you know, might be something that you may consider putting on your shelf later on. But anyways, hope you'll join me as we dive into this wave, Transformers Retro Toys Funko Pop figures. Alright, so as I said, this figure consists of 4 base figures, 2 Autobots, 2 Decepticons. We're going to start with the Autobots. And our first one up is Cup. And I promise you, I'm not trying to rhyme. Anyways, Cup, I thought was kind of an odd choice. I guess it's because of the 40th anniversary of Transformers the movie, and that's where Cup, of course, made his debut. You know, well, far from an obscure character, not one of the big ones you see on a lot of merchandise. So it was nice that that Funko kind of went, you know, a little bit back in, you know, the characters for Transformers for this release. But Cup, you know, does look pretty good. He has that classic kind of teal coloring to him. You know, has details all the way around. And while being part of the Retro Toys line, it clearly takes design cues from the character, the animation model as well, because a lot of the very first few waves of G1 Transformer Pop figures were very toy-based. This one's definitely more, again, like I said, animation-based. You can see here on the chest, you got some of those worn down marks and cracks like he has in the movie, and of course later on in the series. Head sculpt is clearly designed on the animation model. Kind of has a cranky mouth there, which is kind of cool. I love the details here. Again, it's not, you know, clashing too much with the original toy, but definitely, you know, the roundness of the arms and the coloring there is definitely based on the animation model. You get to the back here, on this little backpack piece, you see some more of those crack and stress fractures. Again, showing Cup's age. You know, he's one of the older Autobots on the team. Just some really nice details here. You know, you have the little detail sculpted on the legs, and again, you know, you have the Autobot symbol, the belt piece, we'll call it. So I think they did a pretty good job. You know, it's definitely Cup, well, maintaining that Funko Pop, you know, look about it. And of course, you know, with the rather large head. But, well, he does have the Funko Pop eyes, you know, in the later releases of Pop figures. And I think just about all the Transformer ones that I could think of, they do include mouths, so they don't quite have that soulless look that a lot of people complain about Funko Pops. So this is a neat one. I actually had a lot of trouble finding this one. I actually just got it for Father's Day. Saw him in stores when they first came out months ago, and then he disappeared. And that's very much the story for the next figure in the wave. Also an Autobot who debuted in Transformers the movie, Springer. And this Springer here, I'm just going to be honest, he looks great. I love the colors. You know, Springer is known for having that, you know, kind of like when we did the green light review, that green and yellow, kind of that lemon lime or Sprite kind of look about him. That's what it always reminds me of. But, you know, he looks great. He has one of his swords here, you know, one of his copter blades. You got the copter and car front right here. Head sculpt is dead on. And I love the expression, you know, even how his brow is kind of furrowed, like, you know, kind of little cocky, you know, ready for battle. He does even have his little blaster that pops up out of his wrist from the movie here. So again, clearly based more on the animation than the actual toy, you know, despite being part of the Retro Toys line. You have the details on the back here from his triple changer modes, the car and the copter. So you can kind of see, you know, the cockpit there, and even some of the hinges have been molded in. And that's what I love about, you know, this line. I mean, I have a lot of Funko Pops in my collection from different properties, but when they take on Transformers, they really do a good job with the details. Let's see, and then, you know, of course, the colors are dead on. Again, that face sculpt is dead on. I like it a lot. Even the fists and the thighs here are like an off-white color, kind of with a green hue to them. So very accurate to Springer, in every sense of the word. I mean, there's no mistake in that. Yes, this is Springer. Now let's move on to our Decepticons here. First one, this is actually, so Nemesis Prime here, this is actually the second Nemesis Prime that we've received in the Funko Pop line. We did have one, the very first Optimus Prime that came out as part of the Funko Pop line Retro Toys, was repainted as a Nemesis Prime, as I believe it was one of the exclusives out there. But this one actually is a unique mold. We haven't had this figure in this pose yet. He does have the nice, you know, the red windows, which I always appreciate whenever there's a Nemesis Prime, as well as the teal highlights on the belt there. Of course, mostly black and gray here. You got the red eyes, and what's nice is, you know, again, kind of like with Springer, you know, the eyes are kind of, you know, squinting a little, you know, with that menacing look about him. So, I think that's pretty cool. Continue around here. You know, you got all the details, including the back of the head here. And, you know, even you got that classic kind of G1. And again, I say this is more animation for, of course, Optimus Prime. You got kind of that backpack there that you're used to seeing. And one thing I think is just funny is, you know, well, there's a ton of Transformers out there that have yet to receive a Funko Pop figure. Nemesis Prime, who never even appeared in the G1 show, has 2 G1 Funko Retro Toys Pops out there. And, of course, he's not really a retro toy either, but he's a fun character that's been kind of retconned into G1 through various, you know, fan fictions and comic stories and what have you. I'm actually surprised that, again, we got a Nemesis Prime in this series as one of the 2 Decepticons. When, again, there's so many Decepticons that don't have a Funko Pop figure. And we probably could have done with another Optimus Prime in a different pose, which this would have worked for. Because, again, you can't have too many Optimuses, or even, you know, an Ultra Magnus without the armor. So I see that forthcoming for this if it gets reused. Funko does not always reuse their vinyl figures or their molds for obvious repaints. Not as much as Hasbro typically does. But oftentimes they do. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this one again. But anyways, it is a very good figure. You got all those classic details you'd want. It's all the right colors. And again, just a fun addition to the shelf there. Now, our second Decepticon is Skywarp. And I think he looks great. We got Starscream. Starscream was released. He was not flying like this. He actually was holding Megatron in gun mode. And was a Target exclusive when he came out in that first Retro Toys wave. This, of course, is a new Seeker mold, you know, like Hasbro loves to give us. And the details are just spot on. You know, I love the fact that it's an action pose. You got the little flames on the bottom there, like he's hovering. The Decepticon logos are upside down, just like they would be on the toy, sometimes in the animation. So again, probably more animation based, but does take some cues from the actual toy itself. I love the fact that, you know, they weren't limited on colors. They made these underneath the knees the right color, that kind of that blue color, and give you a closer look at those boosters coming out of the heels there. You know, you got the cockpit there, that's the same, you know, the chest pieces. All the colors are right to the toy. I mean, it may not be the same, you know, exact Pantone match, but I think it's a good job. You know, this is Skywarp. And so that's the 4 main figures in this line. They did include a chase. And the chase one, and I happen to have the chase, and it was none other than Thundercracker. Now, you know, I just want to point out, with chase figures, a lot of people end up breaking down and paying an overabundance of money for these chase figures, you know, whether it's online or in a specialty store. I was lucky. I found this on the shelf at Walmart for standard retail price. And I think it looks great. Of course, he is a repaint or re-dye, whatever you do with vinyl, of the Skywarp I just showed. And when I was joking about it being a Seeker mold, so you have 2 of the 3 original Seekers in this pose, in this mold now. Honestly, I think a Starscream would go nicely. Maybe with a more menacing expression on his face. And I'll show you what they look like next to each other, the Skywarp and Thundercracker. But just want to show you, you know, some of the details here. Again, you got the jet boosters here, the blast effects. You have the detail on the wings. Of course, the blasters on the side. You have the cockpit and the chest, that's the same. Again, a really good-looking Thundercracker. And again, you got the Decepticon insignias going the right way. If you look at them together, yeah, they are pretty much a carbon copy of each other, minus the fact that they are different colors. And, right, they're Seekers. You know, I won't give them too much trouble about it. I would have liked to see maybe a little variation on the mouth expression, just to change it up a little bit. The other thing that I do want to semi-complain about here is I really don't think Thundercracker should have been a chase figure. Thundercracker is one of those figures, again, the 3 classic Seekers, Starscream, Skywarp, Thundercracker. He's one of those that people are going to want to complete the trio, or even just add to their Transformers Pop figure collection. So I would not, I mean, maybe I would have released them in a different wave, maybe as a store exclusive, Store exclusives are not as hard to get as a chase figure. Chase figures are extremely difficult. I mean, not as difficult as the NFTs, which don't get me started there. I'm not a fan of that. But chase figures can be found anywhere that carries these firsthand, just randomly assorted or even shipped to you. So I do think that was, maybe an oversight that they made Thundercracker a chase when he's that popular of a character. What I would have done instead is I would have taken this Nemesis Prime, released them in Optimus Prime colors as Optimus Prime as a standard release, and then I would have made Nemesis Prime, the paint job we have here, as the chase figure for this wave. That's what I would have done, because Nemesis Prime, well sought after, is not anywhere near as sought after as Thundercracker here. Actually, these two would have made a nice 2-pack. And again, I'm sure we'll get another Starscream eventually, but there is one out there technically. Alright, so there's your group shot of this wave of Funko Pop figures, Transformer style. Again, part of what they call the Retro Toys line, all individually numbered in terms of their place within the Retro Toys line. With the exception of Thundercracker and Skywarp, they share the same number because, again, Thundercracker is a chase of Skywarp. Overall, I thought this was a very good wave. As with a lot of Funko Pops, when it was first announced, we maybe had a month before they started hitting store shelves. And the very first one I saw was actually Springer at a Walmart, and I passed on it. Then I saw Cup, and I passed on it just because it was around the, it was like late December, so it was really close to Christmas. I did end up picking these two up at a GameStop, and then again, this one later at Walmart. But then I never saw these two again. So again, for Father's Day, my family was nice enough to pick me up Cup and Springer here. They did have to order them, but I finally have the whole wave. And, I have every release, non-NFT release of Transformer Funko Pops, with the exception of the chase figure that was Buzzsaw, a redeco of the Laserbeak pop figure I came out with the wave previous to this. So this is actually only the second chase figure that's been done, but I have all the exclusives. Again, I'm just not really counting the NFT wave because that model just boggles my mind. Not that I don't understand it. I don't feel it's a very good business model for fans. But anyways, I think these are great additions to my collection. Maybe you will too for yours. If not all of them, maybe some of them. I know everybody would probably love the Thundercracker here, especially with that bright blue color. And unfortunately, he is one you'll have to chase. But again, I really like the Cup and Springer here as well. Especially the Springer with his sword and just that pose. I really, really like that. And again, non-transformable, somewhere, kind of between a model and, the blockies and all that. And, just a fun little pop culture item to have maybe on your desk or on your shelf, maybe even at work. Just that little something you can have. All right, so that is going to be this video. Just, again, kind of a quick look at the latest wave of Funko Pop Transformers. Feel free to leave a comment. Which one's your favorite out of this wave? Mine, I like them all, but I'm kind of gravitating towards Springer as my favorite here. But anyways, let me know your favorite, whether it's this wave or another one. If you're not into Funko Pops, maybe you can share which one looks kind of good to you, or just any other thoughts you have, whether you're still collecting all these or not. Outside of that, I do want to invite you to subscribe to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel for more videos like this, and also reviews and discussions of you know, your classic Transformers product, and toys and collectibles, all that good stuff. Cover that, and of course news of upcoming releases. And feel free to give this video a like if you enjoyed it here on YouTube. If you're looking for any other fun videos to watch, I also want to invite you to check out my original channel, just simply called Peach State Prime, where we cover all sorts of fun stuff like travel videos, amusement parks, tourist attractions, special events, including conventions, fun places to eat and shop, all covered there. And of course, you can also check me out, just a little bit of background information over at peachstateprime.com. Still working on building on that site a little bit, but it is officially launched. Anyways, thank you very much again for watching this video. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.